What's going on, collective? It's Ron over here at Becoming Enlightened Together. Uh, it is a very positive, energetic day, it looks like. And unfortunately, according to the weekly read, it'll be the last fully positive day that we get this week. Now, things can always change, of course. Again, time is not linear like we're all programmed to believe that it is. It's just the now, okay? And it's going to be different for each and every person. And I know it's complicated and it's difficult to explain, but there are plenty of good books and um, commentators on this subject today. So you can listen to people such as Greg Braden and many others that are widely, you know, um, published, and they well, there's a host. I shouldn't just name one person. I apologize, but there's so many people out there that have talked about, and they've married together very effectively, the world of quantum physics or science and a spiritual side as well. Much like people like Nikola Tesla have brought to, our attention should be doing if we want to excel in terms of our understanding of the way life really works and everything else. Since we've had those two things divided up for so long, when these mavericks come along and they buck status quo, and you can see the you can feel the intellectual and the truth just pouring out of them. I mean, the intellectual side married again with the spiritual side, and put together in such a way that, well, we can understand what it is that would ordinarily be very complex issues, separate. Anyway, I digress. So what is the overall energy for the week? Well, it is Laguz in the upright, and it stands for, anything watery, basically, which is typically in divination world representative of emotions, things of that nature. Okay. So we're talking about, other than the physical or material bodies of water, rivers, lakes, oceans, streams, we're talking about also the emotions of a person, how they flow, or they can be still as well, So emotions, psychic abilities, the psychic feminine in particular. This is the feminine side of the yin and yang we're talking about, the psychic side, okay? The analytical side, of course, is the masculine. And again, another concept where we can see the marrying together of these two, not necessarily polar opposites, but complementary energies, all right? So we also see dreams and intuition, flowing, fertility, rewards, renewed life energy, organic growth, imagination. I think I may have already said that. Psychic matters in general, fantasies, mysteries, things that are hidden, underworld, the deep, and success in both travel and in acquisition, acquiring, various things that you are attempting to acquire. Now, the past energy, that which we pulled on Sunday for today, Tuesday, is Manaz. Manaz in the upright. In fact, all the energies today are in the upright, and it doesn't happen very often, so, well, at least in my case, it seems. So Manaz in the upright stands for basically, humanity, the self. It talks about modesty and thought, creativity, altruism, the attitude towards others and theirs towards you. It talks about friends and enemies, social order, intelligence and forethought, creative skills and abilities, the divine structure, awareness. It talks about that you can expect to receive some form of aid and cooperation either now or in the very near future. So very positive energy. All right, so the very present, what we have, energetically speaking, is Perthro, and it too is in the upright. Now, Perthro in the upright represents things such as games of chance. Again, hidden things, the unknown, gambling, that kind of a thing. But it also, again, talks about the feminine uh, aspect of things, excuse me. And I've seen that with the tarot reading today, too. The Divine Feminine came out once again. So anyways, we're seeing a lot about femininity. We're also seeing the feminine side of the energetic field, which again is about things that are mysterious, hidden, psychic abilities, intuition, things of that nature. So we're seeing that a lot. I think that, again, that was something that was echoed from the last week of what the collective in general was being reminded to be very conscious of, because of all the negative energy that was coming their way or working around them, little known and little seen. So you have to use your intuition, and that's what they're talking about here. Apparently, we have a lot of that energy that is available to us. So tap into your intuition, okay? And it's something that has to be practiced. Trusting your gut. And I still flounder at that from time to time, even though I'm more conscious than most people concerning that. I try to think about it. It's the very first act I do in the mornings. Before I even open my eyes, I'm already meditating, sometimes for an hour and a half, before I start my day. So I'm always working on becoming more and more conscious and aware. All right. So it talks about, again, those things which are feminine, the vagina, mystery, sexuality from the feminine perspective. So it talks about, like I said, female fertility in particular, determining one's future path, cult abilities, knowledge of one's destiny and future things. Talks about basically it's a good lot, so it's a good luck omen kind of a thing. Fellowship, joy, evolutionary change, all very positive energy. So we're seeing that the energy that is here within and around the collective is all very, very powerful and very, very positive. So utilize that and take this time to really reflect and to go within and so on. I'm not going to give you euphemisms and all that kind of stuff. I hate when people start telling me how to think, feel, what I have to do and things like that. And I'll never do that, or I will make every attempt not to. If I do, then it wasn't done consciously. Trust your intuition, and your life is your own. So live it the way that your heart directs, okay? I mean, if you feel guilty about something, if you're feeling wrong about something, trust that feeling, okay? If you don't feel it right in your gut, trust that. All right, so now obstacles and challenges and the help and advice are both exactly the same rune. And it's another very powerful rune, Uruz. So, starting with the obstacles and the challenges, Uruz in the upright, both of them are, stands for the Auroch, which is a very, very powerful beast in Europe and so on that was hunted to extinction. But it was a very powerful beast, so that was referred to, basically, or the energy refers to that. Strength, vitality, health, energy, action, courage, tenacity. It talks about sexual desire, especially wisdom. It talks about masculinity, potency, untamed potential, freedom. It talks about understanding, and again, sudden changes and the forming of one's self. Okay, so where we have Pertho femininity and feminine attributes and so on, we have Uruz, which talks about masculine. Again, another look at the parallel energies that accentuate one another. Okay, so that's good. We're basically, I believe, anyways, and this is just my belief. Some would disagree, and that's fine. Do your own research. But I believe that what we see within nature and everything else as an example is basically about balance. We see that in the laws of thermodynamics as we know them, and we see that in the law of conservation of energy, equal and opposite reaction, blah, 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 and that heat cannot, or energy cannot be, created or destroyed, but converted from one form into another. Heat energy can become mechanical energy, which can be converted to electrical energy, which can be converted to light energy, which can be converted to, again, any of the other forms. It's all the same thing, even though it manifests in a different way. Okay? All right. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. That's the teacher in me. So that's what the obstacles and challenges are. How are those obstacles and challenges? Well, in fact, they're not. Those are all very good things. Those are blessings, and that's why it's also under the help and advice. It tells us that's the energy that we are basically to harness, the masculine side this time. We are to harness the strength, the vitality, the health, the energy, the action, courage, and tenacity, that sexual desire, and that doesn't mean go ape shit, but you know what I mean, So wisdom, masculine potency, untamed potential, freedom, and action. Okay? So that is both the obstacles and also the help and advice. Now for the future outcome, what we have is Radho. And Radho, again, is in the upright. Radho basically is, if you were to summarize it, it's the blessed journey. It's, it refers to anything that basically describes movement in any way. So the wheels of a car, the car itself, a wagon, a carriage, a vehicle, a chariot, a car, a boat, an airplane, travel. It talks about messages as they move about too. It talks about control and right action, going on a vacation, or perhaps relocating someplace. Evolution, still movement. It's all about movement. Change of place or setting, seeing a larger perspective, seeing the right move to make, and deciding upon it. And basically reminding us of the ebbs and flows or the universal rhythm. Our ebbs and flows in life, and it's never going to be all good, and it's never going to be all bad, although some people seem to have a lot more good and some other people seem to have a lot more bad. And again, we can break that down in describing things such as karma and past lives and a host of other possibilities that are affecting that observation with certain people. But we don't always know what goes on behind the scenes. Some people might think that somebody has everything coming to them when in fact they have gone through literally hell and back. But they do it secretly. They bear their own cross. They don't drag other people into that particular area of their lives, and they endure. And they, as Clint Eastwood like to steal from the U.S. Marine Corps, they improvise, adapt, and overcome. And I know because I've been accused of that, and nobody had any idea of the things I had to get through to get from point A to point, Z, so to speak. I'm still working on it, by the way. So. Gone through homelessness. I've seen entire families out there living in a park and living under overpasses and everything else, and it just fixed. I was meant to go through these things because I decided upon fighting the system. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, because whether you know it or not, you are basically acting as an accomplice to a system by allowing them to siphon your energy in the form typically of money, and they use that money for every manner of evil. Well, we're talking about ethnic cleansing, we're talking about stealing a whole nother country's resources and everything else, and they do that, and they can only do that because we give them the energy that they need to make that happen. And we do that by allowing them to extort us and saying that that is right, good, just, and it's, part of life and death, right? Death and taxes. No, it's not. And it was supposed to be in this country on a representative, standpoint. So you don't have any say in what they do with it. And when you get people like Donald Rumsfeld going before the House Senate committee year after year and stating something like the fact that we can't account for X trillion dollars that just disappeared without a trace, and the very area in which they were keeping all of the records for that is just conveniently bombed on September the 11th, 2001, in the Pentagon. And you look at all these other things that are going on, have been going on for a long time. I decided, you know what? I can talk about it like I do. I can make videos about it, write music about it like I do. But I have to live it too. So I did. And I went into basically a homeless state for, well, quite some time. You guys saw, at least in some regards, what that looked like as I was doing some recordings out there, in the wilderness and everything else, or at a park. I was actually living out there. So, and I was surviving because I'd always prepared well in advance. It wasn't easy. Wasn't easy at all. I mean, it got to a point where if I was eating maybe a can of cold soup a day or something of that nature. But I decided I was going to live this and not just talk about it. So that's why I was in that state. And I choose to continue to fight. So anyways, I just given you a little bit of heads up of who I am and everything else. I'm trying to be a doer in this life and not just a talker. And I'm trying to be a teacher because I believe that there are two sides. Okay? If you continue to ride the middle, then you've made your decision, then it's not the right side. Trust me. And as a result of that, when things come, crumbling down, and I assure you they are, that you're going to be on the wrong side of that. You are. And the world, the universe, everything is changing around us. And if you haven't caught wind of that, you haven't been seeing and paying attention to that, and it's literally written in every single prophetic working you can see. Yes, it's described differently, and they have different theories as to where we're at in regards to these things. When you put it all together, you can see clearly that these things are happening right before us. Okay? And I know because I worked on the other side, for some time. And by that I mean as a military man and everything else, I got to see what was really going on, what we were actually participating in, and come home and find out what they were telling everybody here was going on, and realize that it wasn't the same thing. And then finding the reasons why we've been sent to certain, areas of the world to do certain things, always under the pretext of peace or freedom. And people buy that lie, hook, line, and sinker. They don't think about it at all. How is stealing somebody else's resources and killing, their people about providing freedom and liberty or anything like that for you and me? When in fact, every time I came back, we had less of those things, not more. And if you look at things such as Homeland Security Act, and the Patriot Act, and so many other things that they've implemented ever since, and just the corrupt way in which our presumed representatives actually work behind the scenes. They should wear freaking sponsorships on their freaking jackets, and I know some of you have heard that before, so we could see who is really running the show. And you would realize for yourselves, it's not you and I. We have almost no say whatsoever. I mean, elections are only there to give you the illusion that you have some participation in it. But leaders are never voted in, so to speak, okay? It's just not the way it works. And the lesser of two evils in the first place is not a choice at all. But that's what we're faced with. And then the left squabbles with the right over who's going to rule over you the next 4 years. Who wants to be ruled over at all? That wasn't the way the government was meant to be set up in the first place. So people are completely ignorant of what the government really was and what it was meant to be and what it would take to maintain it, which we gave up a long, long time ago. And then we let these very wealthy, moneyed interests and secret society networks, working together with these corporate giants today, the Vanguards, the Black Rocks, and many others, with these black nobility families who have literally been ruling for thousands of years now. thousands of years. And they work through the ecclesiastical side, through the Vatican, and their multitude of secret societies. They have a friggin' army of them. I mean, the Priory of Sion, Knights Templar. I mean, they're more numerous than I can even name right now. And then you have the other secret societies. And at the upper levels, they all coordinate together. It's all roughly a pyramidal scheme of sorts, where only the ones at the very top of the pyramid really know the full picture, and everybody else only gets a very small glimpse of it. Many that are working within it have no idea they're working for it at all. And if you've ever been in a government job or agency, you know of this candidly. You know the compartmentalization that takes place. So the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing at all, but they're all coordinating and working based on the little information they're given towards a very specific goal. And that's exactly how it works. So you wonder how it is that, nobody knows about these conspiracies, or nobody's talking about these conspiracies, or why isn't it out there in the open? Well, it is. You're just not seeing it. You're not hearing about it from CNN, ABC, PBS, Fox, and all these other news stations, which literally, if you look at the congressional record, realize were bought in 1915 by J.P. Morgan and crew. It's in the 64th Congressional Report. You can look it up yourself. In 1917, it's dated. 1915 is when he purchased the largest news agencies in this country. And the same thing took place in all the other European countries. And now, of course, it's also happening in many of the other countries, of course, near the Black Sea region, of course, the Asian continents as well. So it's a huge game. It's a game of not chess, but Go. It's the Chinese version of chess, where you occupy and maintain entire regions, not just a single piece. Okay, so it's complex, but everything that's happening, victories as well as defeats, are already planned and coordinated long in advance, and the very people I'm referring to, they end up making a lot of money either way. As a matter of fact, they support both sides financially. It's been proven many, many times over since the Napoleonic Wars. I mean, that's where it all really became cohesive, with, the Rothschild family in particular. You can read about that. It's well-known information, where they make money literally out of nothing. They've been doing that since the 1600s in England, and then France, and then America, and everybody's doing it now. Well, not everybody. The people that weren't doing it, that were actually using commodities, to back up their brand new financial system based upon gold or silver or both, such as what John F. Kennedy was in the process of doing, by the way, before they murdered him in broad daylight, to warn anybody who would get a frame of mind of fighting the system. Well, it's time that the system come down. The system only benefits those, if you will, reptilian, friggin' archonic, demonic, demiurge-ruled, matrix, friggin', what do you call him? I forget. What was Agent Smith called? I forget. But Agent Smiths of the Matrix. Those are the people that basically are resisting, or they're policing this matrix that we're in. But we can resist. We can take away their power overnight if people actually just understand what's really happening and pull back their energy, stop allowing it to be siphoned off in a vampiristic fashion. It's your energy. You exchange it for a small portion of money which they control the worth of. They minimize it. They tax it repeatedly. You're having the same money taxed over and over and over. And I lived that personally. I saw that personally. The money I was getting from my retirement, which is already taxed, was taxed yet again. And they got to the point where I refused, and they stole X number of thousands of dollars out of my bank account without any knowledge, without any forewarning, nothing. So I decided, okay, they want to play that game. I'm just going to fight them back by not allowing them to have any more of my energy. So I stopped putting energy into the system. And that's what I'm talking about. Now, I know that this has been a long video, and there's only a handful of people that watch it. But I hope somebody out there somewhere watches this and can get something from this. Because it's a very real situation in our lives. We're here to learn, and we're here to do the right thing, to fight against the wrong things, to change things, if you will, to become more in tune with the universe and its cycles, to be more in tune with, if you will, nature, to be more in tune with the things of spirit. The laws that we talk about are call those the laws of physics. Those are simply the laws of nature that they're discovering, or I should say rediscovering. Most of them were written about thousands of years ago in other cultures. A lot of that knowledge still exists, mostly in esoteric writings or hermetic writings, sometimes occultic writings, and you also find them to a lesser degree, but they're there in religious dogma throughout the world. You put all that together, and there it is. We have it. It's not completely gone, but you have to look for it as though you were looking for buried treasure, literally, or you'll never find it. And again, I use the words of Jesus to, refresh your memory that when he comes back, for example, it's a metaphor, but, for those who think it's literal, that's fine too. But the point is that he asked the question, would he find any faith when he comes back? And that means, and they also talked about it would be like the days of Noah, where nobody believed anything Noah was telling them at that time. They were all buying, selling, trading, and carrying on and doing their thing, while he was building this, again, metaphorically, this giant ship and everything else. So, now, that story itself is literally written in the oldest story that we have, which is the Epic of Gilgamesh. And we find that literally echoed in every single culture worldwide. It happened. Reasons for it and everything else were changed over time culturally, but the fact that it happened is true. Anyways, there's more that people don't know than they know. And the more that you search, the more that you try to discover truth, the more you will discover these things for yourself. And then hopefully you'll throw yourself into this fight, because you're in it whether you believe it or not, whether you know it or not. And ignorance is no excuse. Again, that's echoed in every religious dogma too. It's not my words. I mean, those are words from Jesus too. He said, basically by the signs of the nature itself, you have to know that God exists and, his will and everything else. And we see that again in the laws of nature, the laws of physics. We go against them and things don't go well. And we've allowed these megalomaniacs to rule over us for far too long. So, anyway, do with that information what you will. Stop listening to me, hate me, whatever you wish. That's up to you. But otherwise, we have good energy for today. So, as always, gang, stay victorious. And in the very far future, hopefully, I'll see you all in Valhalla.